Can't tell if this thing's running or not. Yeah, there it goes. It says live. Yeah, it's stupid. Facebook pops up with all these like emojis and stuff. You can't even see what's on your screen. But anyways, I was going to give some information on the MT-14. People are asking about it. I'm going to shut it off. It's been running ever since I started it. So we'll just kill the ignition switch. Oh, that was the lights. Never mind. It's hard to look through here and talk at the same time. But yeah, it was running like a top. Ran great. It's got a 2-cylinder. It's an Onan engine, which I think is I'm not sure. They got bought out by somebody, but it's like an industrial 2-cylinder, some kind of 4-stroke engine that they used to use in these things. It's pretty. I mean, it's like a tank, and it's got a. That's the gearbox for the transmission, and this one's actually chain driven. I don't know if you can see the chain down there. So there's like a sprocket on the back and a sprocket up here, and it's a chain driven deal. It's a 14 horsepower engine. Got an alternator, so all the lights and stuff work. I'm gonna kill this battery switch. But yeah, so this is the throttle. This is the clutch. It's a hand clutch. So when you pull in the clutch, you can put it in gear up here, either forward or reverse, slow or fast. And up here we have our radio, which I think the new radios, this thing's outdated. It still works, but they don't use the same frequencies anymore, so we'd have to get another one. And then these are the two headlights in the front. That's the one for the headlights in the back. This is the strobe light. And this was when we had the trailers that we used to pull. That used to run the lights on the trailer, which was pretty cool. It's got the antenna up there, the 4 headlights, and the strobe light. Brake system, they're just those pads on the wheels. So when you hit the brake lever here, this is the brake lever. You hit that, and it squeezes those. Basically, it pinches onto the wheels and slows you down that way. And those are the brake shoes. That's the brake shoe. They still sell a lot of those parts. There was a guy up in Worcester, of all places, that had a giant graveyard of these things. His name was Les King. And you can, I think you could still look him up. Somebody bought all of his stock and stuff. So they still make all the parts for a lot of these. But Les King passed away, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now, and somebody bought all his, bending equipment and all that manufacturing stuff. But he could basically build one of these things from scratch, with the exception of the wheels. The wheels are, I think they're pressed or something, and they still make the wheels, but you got to go through like Fairmont, I think, and they're real expensive if you buy them new. They're like a couple $100 a piece. But these wheels are actually in really good condition. They measure basically the tread on them is how they gauge it. There's like a little thing you put on them, and when they wear out from the brakes and the rails and stuff, you got to replace them. This is the tow bar. Every motor car is required to have a tow bar. And then these handles here, they pull out through the back too. You can pull them all the way out, and it works like a giant wheelbarrow. You can basically pull them out, and then the back of this thing's actually kind of light, where the engine's up front and there's not much in the back. So you could pull those handles out, and then you lift the whole thing up like a wheelbarrow, and you can spin it around like 180 if you don't want to go in reverse, which, I mean, it goes fine in reverse. It's just the window in the back isn't very big to see out of. But yeah, if you want to spin the whole car around, you can use those handles and turn it around. And there's other motor cars, they actually have what they call a turntable, and it's a hydraulic press that sits right in the middle, and it goes down underneath the car and lifts the whole car up, I don't know, like an inch or two off of the rails, and then you can just spin it by hand real easy. And that's how they used to turn them, either with a turntable or with those handles. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could think of some more stuff to tell everybody. But everybody always asks questions about this stupid thing. And, you know, I wish I did it more. It's one of those hobbies I have that it requires more than one guy, because for me to load it and everything myself, it's too much. You need a couple, 2-3 guys. And unfortunately, all my friends that love doing it all live on the other side of the state. So, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to you know, I can't load it myself, and then it's, you know, I can't get one of my friends to drive from Southern Ohio up here, help me load it, and then drive to West Virginia or something to go run it. So I guess I need more help with it. But and right now my trailer over here, unfortunately, it's a snowmobile trailer, and it doesn't tilt like my old one. The old one, the trailer used to tilt, and then I could just run a come along or something on it and just, you know, winch it up the trailer. Well, this one doesn't tilt, so I'd have to build some kind of ramp system or something for it. And I haven't. I mean, obviously I'm doing 50 things at once already, but anyways, this thing hasn't been started in 2 years, and I've been feeling guilty about not starting it. And I'd at least like to let it run. I mean, nothing's worse on something than just sitting forever. But yeah, this thing sat for, I don't know, before we got it, it came out of someplace near Vancouver, Washington or something, or up above, somewhere out of Canada. It was in a graveyard up there, and we bought it back in maybe 2004 or 2005, I think. And we had another one, which that whole story is a long story too, how we got the other one. But basically the neighbor guy in Mount Perry had one, and he let us take it out one day, and we loved it and fell in love with it. But it was actually an old, it had a Fairmont hit and miss engine. And that's why they used to call these things putt-putts, because the hit and miss engines on them, basically it would sound like an oil well, where, you know, an oil well where it would go putt, 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 and it just had one cylinder, and then it had a belt instead of a chain. And you actually, like a Model T Ford, you had to advance the timing manually. So if you gave it more gas, there was a little lever down here, and you would actually have to increase the timing of the spark. So as you gave it more gas, you were increasing the spark on it. It was real tricky to run. And then we found this thing. I think we paid, gosh, I think $400 for it back then, which was a pretty good deal. And they had to ship it. They put it on a semi-truck and shipped it all the way from Spokane, Washington to Ohio. And then it, of course, was completely beat up. And I don't think I have any pictures of it when we first got it, but it was pretty darn beat. And then I took, I don't know, 6 months or something and restored it and rewired it, and I think I rebuilt the carburetor on it and a couple small things. We put a new alternator on it, but it's run like a top ever since. And trying to think of anything else. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them sometime. If you see this video, I'll be more than happy to explain anything I can explain about it. But so this is what they call an MT-14. And they made, well, Fairmont made a bunch of different models. They made what they called an M14, and the M14 had the one-cylinder hit-and-miss engine on it and the belt. And it was basically the same size car, but it just had the old-school engine on it. Where the T, I think, I'm not sure, I've heard people say it doesn't, but I think the T stands for transmission, which is what that is. So they made the MT-14, which is what this one is. Basically, they were used kind of like the high rail pickup trucks, like the pickup trucks that have the rail wheels on them. This is what they used before those. And so Fairmont made the M14s, the MT-14s, and then they also made what they called a M9 and an MT9. And the T9 or the M9 were basically about half this size. Like, it would stop like right here. So it was just big enough for your legs to go there. This one you can fit 4 people in if you want, because the cover, that's the cover for over the engine there. You could sit 2 guys up front and 2 guys in the seats and back, and 4 people fit in it pretty good. But the M9s and the MT9s are about half this size. And yeah, they're a lot more manageable. A lot of the old people that are in this hobby, they kind of covet those things because one guy can actually move one of those. They weigh, I don't know, 800 or 900 pounds, where this thing's somewhere around 1,500 pounds, which isn't light for one guy to move. But the M9s and the MT9s are about half this size. So a lot of the guys in the hobby, you know, it's kind of an older person's hobby for the most part, but they kind of like the smaller cars because they're a lot more manageable. And then in my other shed, I have what they call Fairmont made what they call a A4, and it's an what they call a section car. So like this one would be mostly used for like inspections, and I don't know, maybe if they needed to replace a tie somewhere, they'd maybe put a little trailer on the back of it and take a couple guys out to go do something. And the A4 is like twice this size, and it weighs around 3,500 pounds, and it's got a 4-cylinder Ford industrial motor in it. I think it's the same motor they put in the Pintos, but it's the industrial version, and it's big, and it has a real transmission like a car. And that thing, unfortunately, we haven't used it in years either, just because, I mean, it would be impossible for me to move by myself. We used to have a crew of like 4 to 6 guys to go on the A4, and it took just about every one of us to load it and you know, get it on the rails and stuff. Where this one's a little more manageable. You can do it with 2 guys, but you know, three guys in this thing, I mean, you're good to go. But I'll try to get a video of the A4 here in a bit. It's out in the shed, and it's kind of in limbo land too. And in fact, I need to start it sometime, but it has a hole in the gas tank, so I'm kind of a little leery to put any gas in it because it'll just leak right out. But it's not a big hole, but anyways. But I'll get a video of the A4 at some point today. I need to get into that shed anyway. And so, yeah, oh, they also made what they call an the A4, obviously, and then Fairmont made an A6 and an A8. And I think what the 4 was a 4-cylinder motor that they put in them. The A6s were a little bit bigger yet, and they had a 6-cylinder motor, Ford motor in them, and then the A8s had a V8 in them. And they're huge. They're like probably twice the size of the A4. And those cars were basically used, you know, they'd put a whole section crew in them and, you know, go work on, you know, if a stick of rail needed replaced or whatever, they'd throw it on a trailer and, you know, run them out on the line. And anyways, I'm rambling, but I'll get a video of the A4 at some point. I won't start it today, unfortunately, but it needs to. I just need to figure out what's going on with the gas tank on it. But anyways, hope everyone enjoyed this. If you didn't, go pound salt. Bye, guys.